This is Anti-Paper Business Club by Opus Capita. I'm Hana, that's me right there, and my job here is to pass on the wisdom of my marvelous guests onto you all. Listen up.
All right, welcome back to our big Peppol talk. I have here with me Anders Pettersson from DIG Sweden and Keijo Kettunen from the Finnish State Treasury.
This is part 2 to our interview. See also part 1, which focused more on Peppol invoices. Now we dig into the Peppol orders.
Let me first say that we mentioned the Peppol authorities being or not. I mean, it's a fantastic thing that Finland now has its own Peppol authority, so all the Scandinavian countries has PAs. That is a great thing because I think this is about collaboration.
Yes, and Peppol is already somewhat known, at least for the invoice, but it's high time to expand the use to the order and the other message types as well.
I think even though it all starts with an order or it actually starts with a tender, we need the invoice to match the order. So we can't, they are both important things here to establish.
Let's repeat that. You need the invoice to match the order. And Peppol is a great way of doing that in a way that is both electronic and standardized, meaning efficient in so many ways.
We have done, I mentioned in the last episode about SFTI, which is a collaboration in Sweden between different public institutions. So SFTI recommends certain formats when it comes to the tender process and the order process. And today we only recommend Peppol through the whole line. And we also support both suppliers, but mainly it is about the public sector. But the public sector has a lot of interest with the suppliers. So that's one way of doing this collaboration and to support them around these formats. That's a little progress to just do this work every day.
In fact, the public or private sector isn't even the point here. The point is the authorities can recommend the use of Peppol, but then it's for you all, the buyers and the suppliers, to together figure out how to actually take that to use.
Should I continue? Because I would... Should
let's,
we? Yeah,
let's hear from Keijo maybe.
Exactly.
Because this was a very good summary. Maybe from the Finland perspective, you earlier talked about this situation in Finland quite a bit, but maybe if you want to kind of summarize, where are we with especially Peppol orders in Finland?
We are just starting that. As I said, so awareness, Peppol messages and e-orders is quite low.
Yeah, I still don't understand why it's so low. Please share us your experiences to help us shed some light into the reasons behind.
And we have to take into account also that industry has had already years their own procurement messages, and when they have been working quite well, So this moving on to Peppol e-orders takes time. They are not ready to go overnight to Peppol e-orders, and that will happen gradually.
And by they, he means you, our listeners. I'd love to know why you're not ready, though.
But in our interests is that we will increase adoption of e-orders as quickly as it is possible and rational also.
Open Peppol statistics actually show that most companies using Peppol use it for exchanging invoices, and the share of Peppol orders is still quite low, even internationally, despite the fact that it comes with massive benefits for both the suppliers and the buyers.
That's why I'm not so worried about the situation in Finland, because even if we are starting just now, so I think we are reaching our neighbor countries quite soon, I should say.
But so there are challenges in sort of getting this, let's say, spreading Peppol. How do you see that these challenges are faced by, let's say, Open Peppol or the authorities in local countries? or your organizations?
Yes,
for that matter?
I could comment on some things there, because when it comes to the penetration on the market also, and using Peppol instead of former formats or established historical formats, which is of course functioning, but what we want to do here is to get the whole transformation, and that then if we are going to be successful, we have to do that both in the private sector and the public sector.
And the SFTI he mentioned earlier has actually done great work here. They've, for example, had joint work on Peppol order adaptation by representatives from the public sector, service providers, and suppliers.
And that was not an easy work. That was kind of difficult to get it through, but that was a way of focusing on this issue, only on this issue.
Also, say you were one of those suppliers who successfully take Peppol orders to use, and there are those already. The odds are, once you'd seen the benefits, you would want to do Peppol with everyone you do business with.
So that's one way, at least, I think, to have more collaboration around this transformation of formats or solutions, I would say.
Do you see differences between, let's say, different industries, or let's say private versus public sector?
You go first. Yeah.
I think there are big differences. The differences in public sector, they are not so big, but the variety concerning private sector, so it's quite high.
It is actually, like retail is all about high volumes, manufacturing is more like just-in-time order and delivery, and construction needs accurate timing, place, and exact product information. Do let us know if you disagree.
We have the Peppol Logistics, which is very interesting, but we also see, I think that when it comes to this, going from another type of ordering format or order and process, it can be for the supplier an easier solution if the customer arrives at his or her web page, for example, and make the order happening there, because they will have all the data and have it in their own place. But what we want to be, it's a standardized structure way, and the ordering will not be happening at the other company's own place, maybe.
So what that means is B2B customers can place orders, say, in their own ERP, and then the order magically flies to the supplier via Peppol. Or, okay, there's no magic, but that is actually how it works.
And I think that can also be something that a company that is used to sell via its e-commerce portal or something, and now it will sell via a catalog in Peppol. That's also another way for the supplier to handle the data. And I think the customer as such should also be aware of that. They can also keep track of a lot of more data from their own ordering process if they have this structured data, like, for example, as we believe in Peppol.
Let's underline that one more time. So when exchanging data via Peppol, both the supplier and the buyer will own their own data. They just exchange it via Peppol.
Because then you can, it's beneficial for both the supplier and the customer. Exactly. Today, most of the data is owned by the supplier in many transformations.
So you want to sit on top of that purchasing or fulfillment data of yours, because then you have like the free pass to analyzing it and optimizing how you do things. And that, my friends, is worth a lot.
Okay, but then in a lot of countries, we see these governmental initiatives have been taking place for e-invoices. And now it's started for e-orders as well. For example, in the Nordics, we have this Nordic Smart Government. How do you see that it will affect ordering, basically, how companies do ordering in Finland and in Sweden? Do you see that ordering will eventually become regulated like invoicing is nowadays? Keijo, maybe you want to take that.
Anders has been working in Nordic Smart Government long time. Maybe he knows better, but as far as I have understood, so it will affect anyway. for example, usage of Peppol and e-orders.
And there is common interest in the Nordic countries to implement Peppol ordering.
And in Nordic Smart Government, we are already and have done already proof of concepts where we send messages between Nordic countries. And on that way, when we succeed on that, so after that we will move on to production. That's my opinion.
About the NSDNB, Nordic Smart Government and Business, I think that the effect is there. I mean, it's about, again, marketing it, talk about it, and also have a proof of concepts that it really works, which we already know that it works. But I mean, when we bring new participants into tests, or so to say, sharp productions, then they have to make something often in their solutions to adjust. And that learning curve needs some times always. And I think it is about going into it again and again and just see the benefits of it, because you have Peppol with its known structures, its regulations, and its security and transparency. It's out there, so you can read and understand it depending on who you are as a user.
Like said, Peppol comes with numerous benefits. It comes with a standard structure, making it efficient to use and fast to implement. It also ensures compliance to laws and format requirements, and the exchange via the Open Peppol network provides security and transparency to your processes.
And also you have the service providers which are connected to a Peppol authority. So I think the framework, we already have that. Now it's about how can we get more companies and buyers to actually also use it.
Exactly, yeah.
Can it be about technical debt? I don't know, because you have invested in other solutions. But today, I mean, many are talking about Peppol at least. So
many are talking about it.
But how many are doing something?
Exactly. So we'd actually like to hear from you. What is it that is preventing you? Why aren't you or your organization using it to the max, both for invoices and for orders? That would be quite interesting. All right, to wrap up, I would still like to hear from your comments for the future, because there are all these initiatives. In addition to the regulation, we have, for example, now was recently announced this Peppol Logistics. How do you see the future? Where are we going, and where do we wish to go, and where do we go in reality, let's say?
Yeah, I can start and just mentioning that Peppol Logistics, DIG has been involving that, supporting the BEAST organization.
That's the electronic standard used in the Swedish construction industry.
And we think that this is a huge step in some kind of. We have two huge areas here, construction and energy, and if it will fly, so to say, then it can influence a lot of other actors, of course.
Keijo, your final comments.
Yes, I listened to Anders, and he said about on that way that if it's starting to fly, I would like to say on that way, when is it flying? Because I believe in that project and agree with Anders, that's very important that we succeed in that. And Finland is participating and the work is starting. It's an extensive work. It takes about at least 1 year, but we wait a lot about the results.
Oh, we do too. And participating from the beginning means a possibility to influence. You can influence too by letting us know your thoughts.
Another player here which can influence in another way is the recently suggestion from the EU Commission about the new VAT directive. Because then it will be, if this will fly, which in some way it will be mandatory with e-invoicing between companies when they invoicing other companies in another country within the union. And I mean, when e-invoicing get on that level, I guess you're going to see through your whole process.
Hopefully,
and that can also
yeah.
be supportive for the ordering, because you see that you handle stuff differently. It will be very much on the table, I guess. Yeah.
So once again, it's to tie the invoice to the order. That's the thing here. It unlocks incredible potential in terms of transparency, accuracy, efficiency, and enabling automation.
All right. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for watching. If you viewers have questions, I'm sure you too will be available in LinkedIn, for example, to contact for more questions. You can also contact us via Opus Capita's website, and we'll pass your questions forward. And so the work continues. You mentioned it'll take at least 1 year for this project that has started. So maybe we check back in 1 year. And all of you roll up those sleeves and get to know your Peppol and get started, because it's actually good stuff. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next episode.